Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Tuesday morning and in today's video we're going to talk about two crazy cases. Absolutely crazy. Rex Heuermann just briefly, but most of this video is going to be dedicated to the horrendousness that is Taylor Schabusiness. Have you heard of this case? I hadn't. I don't know where I've been because I'd never heard of this case until her trial began yesterday. So I'm hooked. So I'm going to be watching every minute of her trial. So I'm going to talk about day one because it's just mind-boggling, absolutely mind-boggling. So buckle in if you've never heard of this case. You're in for a shock. Let's go. So, Rex Heuermann, just briefly, the investigation of his home, the forensic analysis is due to wrap up in the next couple of days. They've been there since the very day of his arrest, and they've gone over that house with a fine-tooth comb. It's interesting that there's this, what News Nation called an underground vault. It's not really a vault at all. It's an outside kind of entryway, like the steps down into the basement or the cellar, whatever's down there, is on the outside. You could get a clear look down into the basement area from outside. So it struck me that that may be where he was taking his victims. So he didn't have to take them in the house, that he took them down there and murdered them down there. So I'm holding my breath to know what evidence investigators have found. It looks like there's tiles on the floor. However well you bleach tiles, the grouting around the edges, blood or body fluids will soak under the grout, and then it becomes impossible to clean because there's little tiny cracks in it. I'm hoping that they've taken up like sections of the floor to analyse. They've dug up the backyard completely, so I'm hoping that they've also looked really closely at the floor in the basement, because if he did kill his victims down there, then that could be where the evidence lies. Apart from the 4 women whose murders they are attributing to Rex, 3 of them he's already been charged with, 1 of them he's the prime suspect of. But there's several other sets of human remains that have been found between Gilgo and Cedar Beach along Ocean Parkway. And those sets of human remains, I would be absolutely astonished if they are not kills of Rex Heuermann. Yes, it's possible that 2 serial killers could be using the same stretch of road as a dumping ground. That's possible, but is it more likely that, given the closeness in proximity to the ones that Rex has been charged with, how likely is it? There is evidence that at least some of those remains were dismembered. Perhaps some body parts were distributed by animals, but I think they should be able to tell where there's been a deliberate dismemberment versus animal activity, because animal activity leaves tooth prints. But it could be that his first victims he dismembered, and if he did, and he did that in his basement, then there should be evidence of that, micro evidence, that even the best cleaner in the world would not be able to clean away. But speaking about dismemberment, this brings me on to the Taylor Schabusiness case. This is why I've included them in the same video, because Taylor, now 25, so she was only 24 at the time she committed this horrendous crime. Her trial started yesterday. There was questions late last week about her competency, but she was deemed competent to stand trial. It's another one of those cases where her mental capacity, kind of temporary insanity, maybe due to drug abuse, is a key part of this trial. And the jury are being asked to deliberate in kind of two separate sections, which I find interesting. It's similar to Letitia Stokes' case, that even though she's admitted to this crime, it's still gone to trial because of this issue about mental incapacity. So the jury have to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt that she actually did it, even though she said she did. But then they've got to deliberate on her mental capacity. So this is out of Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin. So the early hours of the 23rd of February 2022. A young man called Shad Thirion, who spent time at his mother's home, he kind of came and went. He had this girlfriend called Taylor Schabusiness. And on February 21st, they came round to the mother's home. They went down to the basement and she didn't see them the whole of the 22nd of February, although they were down there. Anyway, in the early hours of February 23rd, 2022, in the middle of the night, sometime after 3 a.m, Shad's mother heard a noise like the storm door bang. So she went down to investigate and found Shad's head, his severed head, in a bucket down in the basement. The 911 call, which was released at the trial, there's Tara's boyfriend, partner, who doesn't know what on earth is going on. He made the call. Tara gets on the call and she just sounds like really matter of fact. But they were both in a state of shock. Absolute state of shock. So they spoke at the trial yesterday, and the trial is moving along pretty quickly. The most interesting part for me was the detective who gave a long testimony about what they found when they were down there. So the severed head in the bucket, various body parts, and they found the weapons, a set of kitchen knives that are believed to have been used to completely dismember, chop into pieces poor Shad. And the tip of one of the knives was actually found in Shad's body during the autopsy. So I think today we're going to hear from the medical examiner, which I think is going to be fascinating to listen to. And Taylor is kind of sitting there pulling these faces. Like, there's smiles, there's grimaces. Oh, dear me. But apparently she was under the effect of methamphetamine. And they found a meth pipe which tested positive for meth. I think the claim is that she was out of her mind on meth. And they were having, I don't know, kinky sex, shall we say. She choked him with a dog choker chain. So she was just pulling it tighter and tighter and tighter until it strangled him. But the body parts that were strewn around the basement, like in shopping bags, she left the knives, including a carving knife and a bread knife, which were there at the crime scene. There was a very kind of weak attempt to clean up some blood. Shad's upper torso was found in a storage tote, along with several internal organs. In the bucket with the head was a male organ. Significant bloodstains on the mattress. Also, evidence in her minivan, which was parked outside. And she didn't even try to hide. Officers caught up with her at a nearby apartment complex. She was leaving the building. She spotted investigators and just kind of stopped in her tracks, didn't try to run. And detectives said that she had blood on the front of her sweatshirt as well as her sweatpants. Her hands had blood smeared on them, so it didn't take them long. It didn't take them long to find her because she wasn't making any attempt to run away. An officer asked her if she knew why they were there, and she responded, "Because of my warrant for my arrest." She was brought into the Green Bay Police Department. She had a cut on her thumb, scratches on her arms and hand. Officers told her what they'd found, and she allegedly responded by saying, "That's pretty effed up." But she admitted to the crime and said she'd blacked out from meth after smoking too much of it, I guess. She said that they used chains and strangulation techniques when they had sexy time. She said the latest time she just went crazy and referred to strangling him. She told detectives she could hear his heart beating as she was choking him, so she kept pulling and choking him harder and harder, but he just wouldn't die. This is what she said. He just wouldn't die. After what she explained to be 3 to 5 minutes of her pulling on this dog choker chain, he did eventually die. After which time she played with his body for 2 to 3 hours. Not just chopping up his body, but also performing an oral act on him and inserting a dildo into him. She said she liked it, and she allegedly asked detectives if they knew what it was like to love something so much that you kill it. And she was heard mumbling, "Damn the head. I can't believe I left the head though," while she was in the interview room. So I think they're going to play the interrogation, because at the end of yesterday, they talked about how much of a 7-hour video they were going to play. So they're not going to play all of it, but they've agreed on what they're going to play. So I can't imagine that there's any other video out there that is as long as that isn't the interrogation. So I think we're going to see the interrogation. She told police that they were going to have fun trying to find all the organs. I think they found it because she got lazy. She alleged to have packaged the body parts up in bags so she could just take them away in her van, but she got lazy and only ended up putting the leg and foot in her van, and then she forgot the head. She did intend to take the head. Inside the van, a medical examiner spotted a crock-pot box behind the driver's seat, and that's where they found parts of his legs. Absolutely crazy. Crazy. And get this, on February 14th of this year, she attacked her attorney. And this was in response to him motioning for a delay in the trial. After the attack, a deputy can be heard on video telling her, "You went off on your attorney, Taylor. You went crazy on your attorney." She was escorted out of the room and he withdrew from the case. And she's got a new attorney who is representing her. Hopefully he doesn't get attacked. But she's there in the courtroom and she doesn't appear to be handcuffed. She appears to be attending to what's going on. You can see here her attorney showing her some crime scene photos. She didn't want to look at some of them. She pulled some funny faces, but some of them she seems to be studying quite closely. So let's wait and see what the jury makes of this case. Maybe a case where it's going to be a difficult one to assess her mental capacity. But let's wait and see. I think it boils down to drugs and loving someone so much that you kill them. Wow. Alright guys, that's all I've got for you today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.